Welcome to Embrace Joy, where we are walking the road to restoration. My name is Joy LaPiccolo. I am a certified life coach, and here on your journey, I am your guide. Now, each one of us has experienced some form of loss. Our lives often bear scars, they're reminders of battles that we fought. They are reminders, though, of wounds that have been healed. And you have become a very resilient woman. Today, I want to talk a little bit about those losses and how we can actually grow to become the person that God has called us to be. Now, several years ago, I had the opportunity to take a cruise to Alaska. It was a reward of God's faithfulness and God's healing, and also graduating with a double master's. And one thing that I didn't realize is we were going to be stopping on the way back in Vancouver, British Columbia. There was an excursion to go see this garden. Now, for those of you that know me, know that plants don't like me. So I like looking at flowers. I like walking through and smelling flowers, but gardening is not anything that I'm great at. But I went ahead and I took this excursion to go to this beautiful garden. When I went, I learned that this garden was created from a ugly quarry. So the lady, her husband, used the quarry to mine limestone. And after he would, dig into the earth and create this quarry, he would leave it and move on to another piece of land. Well, this wonderful lady, her name was Jeannie Butchart, she's made the decision, you know what? There is beauty that can happen through this scarred earth. And so I'm going to kind of go through and tell you a little bit about her story. But what she did is she turned that quarry into an amazing garden. That garden was a testament to adversity, amidst adversity. Um, One quote that comes to mind is from Linda Poindexter, and she says, "One small crack does not mean that you are broken. It means that you were put to the test and did not fall apart." And so, one of the things with Jeannie, with this garden, is she did not stay trapped in just seeing the scars. She didn't say, okay, well, this is just part of my, husband's job, and this is the after effects, and then just go ahead and live with that wreckage. Instead, she embraced the fact that they own this land and used it as part of her journey. Part of her purpose was to take that brokenness, those scars in the soil, and decided to make a change. So she literally took some of the men from her husband's crew and she had them lower her down into the quarry, begin to remove any debris, remove any weeds that might be there, any toxicity, and then move on. And that's the same thing with our life. Is the first thing that we need to do is acknowledge that the scars are there and then decide to grow, not stay as a victim, not staying in that ugly scars, but seeing them as beauty. And then the next thing is to lower yourself into the depths of the despair and remove anything that shouldn't be there. Remove any weeds that you have in your life. So, one of the weeds that she had was she had individuals that told her that she could not make a difference. A quarry is a quarry. It's ugly. It's full of rock. And she said, you know what? I'm going to remove any doubt that other people have on my abilities. I'm going to remove any fears that she probably had some fears too. It's never been done before, right? But if we want to decide to grow, we need to face the doubt and fear that is in our lives because we can have those weeds literally choke the garden of our soul. We need to identify them, uproot them, throw them in the fire, get rid of those weeds. Maybe those weeds are not just doubt and fear, but maybe they are previous failures. Like I said, plants don't like me. I'm not very good at taking care of them. Is that a failure? Yes. But I'm going to go ahead and see it as a weed and say, you know, up until now, I haven't been very great with working with plants. But from here going forward, I'm going to remove the weeds and I'm going to go ahead and learn a new skill and move forward. Another weed that comes to my mind, especially with so many of us have gone through trauma, a lot of times we have toxic relationships. Now, years ago, you never really talked about toxic or gaslighting or narcissistic people, but toxic relationships could be anything. Somebody who has betrayed us, someone who, well, there's lots of different types of toxic relationships. But that's another weed is to set boundaries and go, you know what? I'm going to limit the amount of time that I have with you because you're not a safe person. And that is okay to remove that person or set them apart from you. And that is removing the weeds. Realizing that the labels that people have on you are not true most of the time. You need to line them up with the truth of God and realize that your identity is in Christ. Our identity is not based on the weeds that we may have in our life right now. So when you're thinking about some of the weeds in your life, I encourage you to comment and let me know what comes to mind. So because of my abusive marriage, some of the weeds that were choking the life of my soul was the words that were spoken over me or to me. And realizing, you know what, maybe I'm not capable. They told me I was stupid, that they treated me as if I was not lovable. Well, I removed those weeds, threw them in the fire, and moved forward. So not only deciding to grow and removing the weeds, but one of the things that we need to do in growing is to look for opportunities around us. So once we remove those weeds, we end up seeing, you know what? This is actually really good soil. I actually have a place that will grow something new, something that I've never done before. And so in the midst of darkness, there is always a glimmer of hope. Seeking out opportunities to grow and be restored, walking this road to restoration. So with Jeannie, when they tied a rope and lowered her into this quarry, she planted one flower at a time. She saw the opportunity and took one step at a time and made that difference. So we need to do the same thing. There is a tool that I often use in my coaching business, which is called a T chart. And it was created by Ben Franklin many years ago. He was very passionate about self-improvement. So you may have used a T chart in different areas. The way it works is on the left-hand side, you might write down pros, and on the right-hand side, you write down cons when you go buy a house. So maybe the pro is it actually has more than one bathroom. A con may be that the laundry is in the basement. You really want it on the first floor. Well, when you're looking for opportunities, this T-chart can help you figure out the things that have made scars in your life. So if you want to take a time, and you can pause this recording and do this homework assignment, is taking a piece of paper, folding it from left to right. On the left-hand side, you're going to write the title Dark Chapter. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to write down learning opportunities, because you have had learning opportunities. We can focus on those scars. They did happen. The trauma that you went through did happen. But you also have learned lessons. You become a more resilient person. So I'll give you an example, and I may have mentioned this on a previous podcast, but with that abusive marriage, I wrote down very deep scars on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, what I learned afterwards was I had a very powerful voice, that I could overcome the negative words that were spoken to me. I actually joined Toastmasters, and that's where you practice speaking, just normal speaking. And of course, I had a background in teaching, and I did end up earning that double master's, but I still didn't feel like I had the power of my voice. I noticed as I was teaching, I was not being very effective anymore, because my identity was based on this person telling me that I wasn't capable. So in joining Toastmasters, I developed the skills again, and people's encouragement and motivation, and saying, you know what, I never realized that you went through that. I don't get that impression from you at all. I see you as a very loving, educated person. So the opportunity there was the lesson that I did have a very powerful voice. God still had a plan and a purpose for my life. I also, through that, scars, I realized that I had pushed so many people away because I didn't want them to know what was going on in my life. I felt like shame, like maybe I caused this abusive marriage. So I pushed so many people away. So afterwards, I reconnected with wonderful, trustworthy people. I poured myself in to a local church, and that was a learning opportunity for me. So I encourage you to take that T-chart and write those things down of what you have actually learned, because there are possibilities before you. And just notice what you are noticing around you. Now, the most important part in growing through your trauma is to plant the seeds and start walking forward. Once you have decided to grow, nothing can stand in your way. You were designed to grow, just like an acorn. If the squirrels are pushing it down into the soil and it's there underneath the soil, it knows that it's not supposed to just stay an acorn. And it pushes through the stones, the hard ground. If there's a sidewalk on top of it, it will find a crack and it'll push through, because it knows it's supposed to grow, and you are supposed to grow as well. In walking forward and planting those seeds, we can't do this alone. Having that support system, trusted friends, mentors that can walk alongside you, a life coach to guide you. Make sure you set goals that align with your wellness in all areas of your life. So once you've removed those weeds, if you don't plant seeds, the weeds will come back and choke out anything that's around you. So you need to continue to tend your garden. So the areas of life maybe that have not been going well right now because they've been affected by that trauma, maybe your health. What seeds do you want to plant to have a healthier life, physically, mentally, and spiritually? What kind of seeds do you want to plant to have better relationships? Maybe career or your ministry, you want that to grow in a different way. There's making sure you're very specific on what you want your garden to look like. Time, money, freedom. Those are all areas of our life that are affected when we've gone through life. Even if you haven't experienced deep trauma, any type of trauma is life changing, obviously. But what is your garden going to look like now that you have decided to grow? So Sanjita Rana, I believe that's how you say his name, says no one can stop you once you have decided to grow. Don't let anyone stop you from creating the life that you deserve. I really want you to know your scars are not signs of weakness, but of strength. They tell a story of the battles that you have fought and won. Embrace those scars, for they are the marks of a warrior. That's what you are. You are a daughter of the king, a mighty warrior. Remember that those dark chapters of your life, the things that you wrote down on the left-hand side, that's not the end of your story. Remember, that's not the end of your story. The rest of your story is still being written. And the rest of your story is filled with hope, with growth, and a promise of a brighter tomorrow. There are so many resources that can teach you how to grow. And one of the resources is to go ahead and reach out to me for one-on-one coaching. I also do a webinar once a month. You can stay tuned on my website to find out when those are. And then it's always, subscribe and share this information on this podcast. And let's continue to walk this road to restoration. Decide to grow because you are worthy of having an amazing garden, amazing, abundant life.